Hello, and welcome back to another episode with Alejandra Santos. Talks with Alejandra, where we digest and break down articles that I have written in my website, where we go over current events and I go over strategies and insights that you, as your business owner and founder, can put into your business right away. You don't need me or my team to do that. All right, so today we are going to go to and okay, so today we're going to go to one that has really sparked a lot of people interest all over LinkedIn, and it also sparked my interest as well, and that's why I'm writing about it because it's very insightful. I am going to break it down to you guys. The VC model, the traditional VC model, which is hunting for unicorns in order to make a return, is slowly going away. I'm not going to say it's going away right away because it's not, there's a lot of VC funds over there that are acting traditionally, but there's a lot of VC funds and big ones like Sequoia, Lightspeed Venture Partners, who have decided to shift into new VC model. And I wrote this on the eyes of you guys, the founders or a business owner that's planning for an exit, because this is going to shape a lot of how you're going to fundraise, and it's going to shape a lot of how to position your business. So if we go into the next, www.intothenext.com/insights, the article is called A New VC Model, What It Means If You're Fundraising or Planning for an Exit. Okay. And we are going to go and explain why the venture capital model is changing. Well, it's changing because it needs to be changed. I am going to be upfront on that. The traditional VC model doesn't work. It does not work. I have said it in many different posts. I have piggyback on a lot of different comments on LinkedIn. The traditional VC model doesn't work. Chasing for a unicorn doesn't work. It leaves a lot of founders, without the capital needed, because they may have a sustainable business. They may have a business that scales. They may have a business that makes money, but it's not sexy, or it's not, what the unicorn that they want. And in the landscape that we are right now, VCs are starting to get smarter because they have to. They're dealing with other people's money. So OPM, first concept in finance, OPM, other people's money. So a few things that are happening. So there is an overcrowded capital market, which means there is lots of startups needing for funding, but there's also a lot of funds that need to invest. VCs are in the same boat. They need to give their money away. Don't you think that they hold on their money because they're cool? No, they need to invest their money. That's the whole point that a fund exists. So there's a lot of competition among VCs to find good startups to invest in. And traditional VC model where you give someone a check and walk away does not work. And I've been thinking about this for a long time. Why is nobody coming in and helping founders operate their business? There would be so many startups that don't fail. Instead, cutting a check won't cut it anymore or ever. But now, as you guys know in my other article, if you are in my website, you're gonna look for another article that says not all problems are solved with money. Not all problems are solved with money, period. So number one, overcrowded capital markets, meaning VCs need to invest their money on good startups. But it gets a little tricky because they also need to offer operational value, strategic guidance, and speed in order to meet their returns. Just cutting a check won't cut it anymore. Founders are getting smarter. Okay, before, back in the day, well, not even too back in the day, because I'm not that old, but back in the day, founders, they said, oh, I just want the check and that's it. I don't want somebody really helping me how to operate this. Things are getting so hard to navigate with the economy, the tariffs, the everything that's changing so dramatic in our environment, that a founder expectations are also changing, and they're becoming a little bit higher. So they're looking for somebody that is an operator, that's either a firm operator or a former founder, or some former founder that has exited. I always have said that those VC funds that have a founder, like an actual founder in their fund, are so valuable because they get it. Most of the times, VC funds have people that don't understand how to run a business. They don't. They don't understand how to scale a business, but they want you to go there. They want you to scale the business, but they don't really give practical advice. So, founders' expectations are getting higher too. We also have this one thing called LPs. And as you already know, unicorns, to find the unicorn takes years. And to once you find the unicorn, you have to develop the company, right? To go for an exit. That's also years. So the limited partners who are in this fund, invested in this fund, they don't want to deal with 10-year returns, if that. So, I mean, the funds are supposed to give you a return, but it could take a long time to see a return. So as a result, firms like Sequoia and Andreessen Horowitz restructure their whole models to offer more flexible, open-ended fund structures that can deploy capital across public and private markets, because they want to give their LPs more options and more returns. What that means is that we're gonna see higher exits, and they may not be your normal M&A anymore. Well, let me rephrase that. Let me go back. Talking about Sequoia and Andreessen Horowitz, because the way of how they are structured now, not every VC can do this, but the way they're structured now, they are able to do an exit that is not only an IPO anymore or an M&A in order to see a return. They can do other kinds of exits in order to bring a return into their investment. So the way they're restructured is kind of like a P, because they need to bring some money in. So you're going to see a lot of more exits compared to the traditional VC for companies, VC firms like this one. And then the other one is the rise of capital efficiency. So the gone days are of the growth at all costs. We have high interest rates, we have burn rates that are rising, and we have high start capital costs for startups. So this means that you have to be lean and sustainable from the start. Period. Okay? Period. All right. So what is going on with Lightspeed? Lightspeed, like Sequoia, A16's highlights, or what is the other one? Undressing Horowitz, are all adapting. And what they're doing is that they're hiring former founders, executives, and operators who offer hands on help with growth, hiring, and go to market strategy. They have to. They're also launching companies in house, which controls more of the startup journey from ideation to exit. They also allow to stay invested after IPOs. Before, the traditional VC model is that once you go for an exit or an IPO, the LPs are like they're no longer active in the company. But within the way they're restructured themselves, they are able to stay invested after the IPOs and adapt to multiple funding stages. And the good stuff as well is that top VCs now act like growth partners, where they offer access to startup founders to talent, product, sales, and branding support, which is huge. So what does that mean for you? If you're fundraising or going for an exit, like what does that mean? Fundraising is going to be more targeted, meaning you have to do your research. Meaning you cannot send your deck to 100 VCs and expect the moon to drop from the sky and come and carousel you in a train and do the la 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 and then have happy ending. No, you cannot do that. You have to identify firms that are in your niche, your stage, and your values, and that you actually fit in their investor theses. Because if you don't, you're wasting your time. It also looks like safe rounds or safe notes, rolling funds, and revenue based financing are increasingly replacing traditional price rounds, which means that you're going to have to expect smaller checks and more ongoing due diligence. Now more than ever, operations matter. All right. You have to hone in onto scaling lean and smart again and again. So it would be really good for you to start really working with an operation consultant or a traditional or a fractional CFO, because you want to make sure that you are keeping up with your metrics. You want to make sure that you have clean books and that you have SOPs and forecasting models and controls in place for investors to invest. Investors are becoming more savvy into what they're investing in, and they want the team that is tightening up in operations and finances, which is why you should look for an operator or somebody as well that helps startups build from scratch. Maybe somebody that can come in as a founding team member, whatever works for you. But go ahead and get the support of a consultant, perhaps, to help you develop the infrastructure that investors require. You should also start exploring your exit, okay? Because what this means is that there's going to be different kinds of exits. Don't expect the IPO, the fancy IPO, or the huge M&A. You want to make sure that you are thinking about all possible scenarios from acquisition to strategic partnerships. So you want to make sure that you do this with an exit planner. If you don't have an exit planner, your fractional CFO can help you. And if they cannot help you, you need to come to me, because I do that for a living. I have a company that does that. So you need to sit down and do it with me. All right. A huge thing to note is that content and community are now currency. If you're developing a community, you are golden. All right. This is now going to be huge, because now more than ever, VCs want, well, this new kind of VCs, there's really want to invest in portfolio companies where they have a presence, like podcasts, newsletters, communities, because visibility does matter. Okay. So there's a lot of things that you can read in my article. I recommend you go into www.intothenext.com. But I'm going to leave you with this. What you should do as a founder or a business owner, you need to audit your financials. If you don't have somebody taking care of your financials, you should go and look for fractional CFOs near me. We are near you all the time, so remember that. And I don't want to like come here and promote my services, because that's not the point. The point is that you need somebody to be on your side, having really clear financials and metrics and forecasting in order to really position your business for success. You also want to make sure that you map out your exit scenarios. Have an exit strategy in mind. Please, I have said it many times. Experts come to my podcast and say that all the time. Please have an exit in mind. Exits can change, but just have one in mind. You want to make sure you also have your SOPs. And there's applications to do that. There's Trainal. Again, contact me if you want a discount. I'm part of Trainal. And you also want to make sure that you choose aligned investors and stay up consistently online. Build your online reputation, your online brand. If you're not online, you do not exist. I cannot say it enough. I had said it many times that I won't shut about it. If you don't have an online presence, you do not exist, and you cannot compete. So Till then, everybody, I think that I have said enough for the day. But head over to my website, read the article, and until next time, adios, muchachos. Bye.